That's unmuted.
Here we go again.
Yeah. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. We've got the head coach and the captain for you. Dobo, just quickly from my side before we start. When you did media after the game on Saturday night, we didn't know where the final was going to be, and we were obviously just happy to be in the final. Can you maybe just talk about what it means to the team, the wider community, the fact that, yes, it's back-to-back, but the fact that we're playing at home in our type of defence, and how special that would be?
Yeah, I think, for us, as I've gone on, I don't want to lecture these poor guys again about how much our thing is about making Cape Town smile and playing for the people of Cape Town. And, against all odds and, some stars aligning, we can't claim credit for the Ulster result or the Munster result, but just means incredible amount to us to be playing in front of to be in this town, playing in front of the faith, in front of the faithful. It means a hell of a lot. We were preparing to go to Leinster, and I think that would have been a great experience for the team. But I think this, given our why and our cause, this just means an incredible amount. Listen, I warn you, it's going to be a very, 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 very hard task. Munster, we haven't beaten in the URC. They've beaten us twice. They've given us. They ended up proud home record. Their record over the last few weeks incredible. Scottstown, nobody won this season. They've gone to the Viva and they've won again. They've beaten our record. They're drawing Durban. So, look, a really tough opposition, but we're just absolutely thrilled to be in front of our people, of course. So and I know we were lucky with the other results, but cheaper the day, it just means a lot to us.
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of the occasion, to play a team like Munster with the history that they've got, and also what they've done in terms of winning 2 away playoffs. I mean, that on its own, you think about what they've done just to be here. Yeah. Incredible and massive challenge. Yeah,
I mean, as I said, they beat us. No, they've got a great. Probably, we actually think we talked on that with the last tour we were at. We felt in Limerick it was a very similar rugby culture. We saw the Munster flags hanging from the streets on the way driving into Thornton Park. It's one of the, like I've said, it's one of the cathedrals of world rugby. So I think it's, maybe 2 proud unions or clubs, or whatever you call it, with massive history and tradition, who've pulled themselves up and made a final of the URC, great occasion. And I say we just absolutely put it by surprise, but absolutely thrilled that it's in Cape Town.
Kitsy, you've already had 2 or 3 farewells so far. Looking forward to another one. But I mean, you spoke last week about compartmentalizing these things, about focusing on the rugby and then also afterwards, enjoying the moments. It's obviously going to be massively important. It's a final. It must be all about the rugby game.
No, spot on, Mike. I think, as I also said, like the stars aligned for us to actually have another farewell. But no, it's all about the rugby for the next 2 weeks. It's all about getting our stuff in order, understanding exactly what Munster brings, and actually preparing and focusing only for that 80 minutes on the final. So I think the emotion will probably definitely come in afterwards, but for me now it's getting the alignment from the team, getting the alignment from the management, and just 100% focus on the game.
Obviously, it was amazing to be there in a semi-final where there were 10 tries. A final is probably going to be a different kind of game, and that's the kind of game that Munster probably quite well set up for. So, in terms of playing final rugby, quite a big challenge that they, in particular, will present. If you even look at the way that they performed on Saturday night.
Yeah, I think especially when it comes to the final, the margins are quite small. So you have to be spot on in the way you execute your things, the way you stick to the plan. And sometimes big occasions get to players. So for us, it's trying to figure out probably, and I think we're very lucky getting a bye before the final. There's a lot of time for prep, and getting those things in order and in place. It's going to be crucial for us to get a good result on Saturday. So it's going to be small margins, going to be a kick here and there. It might be an odd try here and there, but it's going to be a tight game.
All right, cool. All right, guys. For those of you with questions for these two, please stick your hands up. Yes, Stephen.
Thanks very much, Mike. Steve, in terms of the learning from the last game that you guys played against Munster, is the big one to use your opportunities, you know, because I mean, if I remember Graham Roundtree said afterwards that 10 minutes after halftime was quite crucial in them getting rid of the result, you know. And when I think back, I mean, that's a game in a way where you guys had the better of the game, but somehow finished on the wrong side of it.
100%. I think just thinking back to our Munster game, we had a slow start. Once we scored a couple of quick tries, we fought our way back into the game. Got to lead at one point, but yeah, couldn't finish. So I think there were a lot of opportunities for us to actually come away with points and get the victory. But also Munster defense was excellent. They put us under pressure. So there's going to be, I think there's going to be opportunities. And if you watch the game between Leinster and Munster, there was also a lot of opportunities, but neither team actually executed on them. So I think that's when it comes down to fun rugby. It's actually you got the balls to actually finish on those big moments, like we did towards the end of the game against Connacht. Game was tight. It was tight all the way up till minute 75, and then we scored 2 nice tries. So I think that's going to be a big factor. It's the team who probably executes the best on their opportunities. It's going to be the team that comes away with the trophy.
Dobbo, if you can just remind me, did Dion play in that last game against Munster?
No, no, he didn't. He missed from before Exeter. I can't remember which game he did the cheek.
It was the week before Exeter.
Yeah, it was a week before. Yeah, Exeter was the first game without him, and so it was Munster was without him, and what was the other one? Benetton was without him. Played the quarterfinals. So no, he didn't play that game. You know, their achievement this weekend was remarkable. You know, without Connor, with Park Murray, Bekita, Snyman. Those guys did play here last time. So somebody else I'm forgetting. No, but Dion didn't play.
Yeah, so I guess that makes a big difference. But conversely, also they're likely to be stronger.
Yeah, those guys. I presume. I mean, Echo was only a neck. I think a HIA. So I'm sure they will be back. I think Murray was the same. So I'm sure those guys will be back. I think they'll be very similar to the team that came here last time. I see Keith Hill starts regularly now. But they fought themselves. They had a tough start to the season, fought themselves deep into Europe and into the finals. You know, that's a team that goes and wins at the Aviva. It's a good team. So it's going to be a really tough team to break down.
And Steve, what does it mean to you that things have turned out this way, that you've got a third farewell? I mean, it must be a bit of a joke in the team, but what does it mean for you to be in terms of
it's special. I think the biggest task and the most role that wasn't spoken about as often, but like you can feel it was just going back-to-back finals and not dying at the summit. So for us, it was all about getting over these 2 quarterfinal hurdles, quarterfinal and semi-final hurdles, and then having a full go at the trophy again and try and defend it with everything we got. So no, it's special to actually play a grand final at the DHL Stadium.
Cool, Steve. We'll come back to you, Nathan. Missed you on Saturday, mate. You can ask your question.
Thanks, Mike. I just felt a bit ill. I've just got one for Dobbo. I'm just going to share my screen quickly for him. I just want him to explain something here quickly, because we know that Dobbo is very animative when he's here. So Dobbo, I'm going to go right ahead. I'm going to show you this. So it's disabled. Oh, I might as well just show my screen here quickly. Sorry, guys. Please explain this for us quickly if you can see it. I don't know if you can see it there.
Oh, yes. Yeah, fair enough, mate.
Can you explain for us?
Yeah. I think, you know, we knew Connacht would fight, and I thought we'd given a re-entry point back to them to get within their economy with those 4 or 5 points. So I was just, look, I mean, anybody's religion's personal, but I just thanking the Heavenly Father for giving us a bit of breathing space. I know he's on both sides and all that sort of stuff, but you know, the game was getting really tense. It was so important to us. So I just was very grateful for that try. Sorry. I've been teased quite a bit about it.
Kitsy, how's the Moon Camp at the moment? Obviously, guys do have not playing this weekend, but obviously playing next weekend. How's the Moon Camp at the moment? Probably joyful and stuff.
Yeah, I heard, I don't know if you saw the scenes of the when we were watching the Munster game. I think guys are just so happy to actually host the final again, and I think that's probably like the mood. But I think from today or tomorrow onwards, it will be rugby. It will all be rugby, getting our process in order. So it's not gonna. It's still a big game to be played.
Yeah, and then obviously you got that beer brand of you, Anthony, and you and Malcolm Marks. And just share a bit. I mean, I follow the Village Idiot page, and obviously your beer came up. Can you just talk about your beer, the brand of the beer?
No, I don't think it's the platform to talk about it. Thanks, okay, let's keep it at rugby.
100%, fair enough. Dobbo, long-term injuries. Obviously, we haven't spoken about those in terms of Nama, Salman, any other.
Yeah. No, none of those guys. Unfortunately, Nama, we missed both of them, to be fair. And they're both leaders and very special. No, they won't make it back. Andres Smith's obviously got some nice game time with the Currie Cup. And Dion and Marvin, you know, I think we took a hell of a risk there, you know, in not playing them, but it was the right thing for them and for the team. And luckily, that means they're both in the mix for the final.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Nate.
Cool. Thanks, Nathan. Kate is next. Yes, Kate.
How's it, guys? Congratulations for reaching another final. Dobbo, I mean, you guys relatively struggled in Super Rugby. I mean, you know, you had patches now and then, but you seem to have taken to this competition like duck on water. Have you been able to identify why that is?
Yeah, Super Rugby, what do? We won 5 out of 7 before the pandemic. So we weren't in the world of hurt. We were still in the playoff spots when it got knocked. That was my first, as a coaching group, I had to talk about our first season. And yeah, right. But I think, Kate, we did struggle if you're going after that in the various competitions. You know, I think we came sick. We lost a Currie Cup semi-final, 2 Currie Cup semi-finals. We came second in the Rainbow Cup. So we didn't fall off a cliff. But I think to answer your question, but I see your point's got, your question's valid in that I don't think we had a clear identity of how we wanted to play. And I think that was the big thing. We developed, and I think, look, in all rugby across the world during lockdown and just afterwards, absolutely insipid. You saw some of those games. I think there was, what did they call it in the UK, a Nations Cup or something like that was played. Remember, instead of between England and France, the amount of box kicking, us here in the Currie Cup, us here in Super Rugby Unlocked. And we sort of we got drawn into that. We were part of that, you know, into that vortex. And I think what happened is we then realized there's a certain way in this union that we want to play. And then we sort of built that game model and then got the players that fitted it, you know, and guys like Warwick and Marnie and Achiever and all that stuff were the guys we wanted, Dion, to fit that game model rather than this big, heavy box kicking game. So I think clarity around our game model and then sort of identifying those players. And then I think the other thing was just, you know, which really helped were the rocks, literally, like Stephen, France, who, you know, and a few others, Scurra, all these guys are sort of unschooled in the DNA of this region who stuck loyal to us in some very dark times, which allowed us to get these other players in. So, yeah, it was a clarity around the game model and the personnel. And the other thing, you know, we have got here a remarkable coaching staff. I think Rito, Labib, Gareth, Norman, Darby are just incredible coaches. And in a funny way, I think that we coached our way through that into this game model and into where we are now. And so I mean, the collective.
Yeah. For you, Stephen, you know, you've played in both competitions, you know, obviously playing in the Southern Hemisphere competitions as well. How would you compare the standards between the two?
between Super Rugby and URC. I
Yeah.
think Super Rugby was, yes, I was very young when we played Super Rugby, so I had a bit more spring in my step. But no, I think it's as URC is Northern Hemisphere Rugby. It's collision-based coaching styles, massive kicking game that you have to decipher, and you need to use your opportunities because teams' defenses are so well organized and the attack structure is so well organized. So it's a bit more like a similar feel to what a test match would be. And Super Rugby was always like broken field, high scoring games, a lot of tries, guys running from everywhere. You don't see that often in the URC. So I think that's probably the biggest difference. It's more tactically, you have to be sharp in URC, and then in Super Rugby back in the day was like all about brute strength and speed and how good you can pass a ball.
Final one from me. Speaking of test, comparing it to test rugby, then do you believe that? I mean, it's a World Cup here. Do you believe then this makes these European competitions make maybe the Springboks better going into this World Cup here?
Yeah, Kate, I truly believe it does. I think if you just look at the final four teams from the URC, it's 3 Irish teams and a South African team, and you just know like Ireland is dominating world rugby at the moment with internationally as well. So I think it creates a lot of confidence in the way that you start understanding how teams play, how Northern Hemisphere teams play, because that's it might be your biggest threat when it comes to a World Cup, and it's teams you play for world ranking. So I do believe that the style of rugby does benefit South Africa in the way that we'll prepare for a World Cup or international season.
Cool,
Thank
thanks,
you,
Kate. Kanisa is next. Yes, Kanisa.
Thank you very much, guys. Morning, Double. Morning, kids. Congratulations on hosting another URC final. Double, I don't know if this question's been thrown to you, but I'll throw it in anyway. Based on your success with Western Province Stormers, I mean, you've pretty much been successful at pretty much every level, whether it be under 21, under 19, Currie Cup. With a pretty significant vacancy in the park management team with Jacques leaving, where does that put you now? Because I mean, you've got the stripes to show that you've actually put in the hard work at every level.
No, listen. Firstly, nobody's asked me. Secondly, it's not really. I mean, I'm sitting with the guys I'm close to here in the room. I mean, no, it's not something we've even talked about. I really believe in this project we're doing here. I want to make Cape Town smile. You know, in a funny way, I'm trying to say this. You know, we've not overachieved, but we've got to these. I mean, to have hosted every single URC playoff game is a remarkable achievement, but probably ahead of where the substance of where we are. You know, we probably need a bit more depth. We need a few more players. We need our pathway system firing. We need to be out of being under administration and all that sort of stuff. You know, so you know, on the surface we look fantastic, but there's a lot of work still to go into this project. You know, and as I said, I can't say to them, chaps, this means everything to the people of Cape Town, everything, and then I get the foreman's job. You know, what's it there? Or if I pack my lunch and say goodbye, chaps. No. So no, I'm very keen to see this project through. That's the most important thing for me.
I mean, Double, being a Cape Town person, you'd have seen the best and the worst of the Stormers. I mean, there were seasons when I think it was around 2005 when things actually went properly south. When you see the Stormers in this kind of in this position that they are, and you still call them a work in progress, how much does it mean to you?
Yeah, I think it means everything. Just these last 2 weeks. Look, I'm acutely aware, and people outside. I'm acutely aware sport works in cycles. I'm acutely aware the momentum can change. I'm also acutely aware that there were some results. You know, like the Leinster Munster one that worked in our favour. But that's on the sort of shallower level. On the deeper level, to have got over 45,000 people into Cape Town Stadium, you know, biggest crowds in Stormers history is just remarkable. Because I think, and I want to bore you, you know, not only Western Province been through the thing, Super Rugby was falling off a cliff and has continued to in terms of attendances, broadcast viewership, suite sales, and everything. And for us to have reinvigorated that culture and seeing what it means to the people and seeing what who the people are now. It's not like it was 20 or 30 years ago. So the Men in Black was talked about, and they reached a semi-final in 2000, I think it was. To have got that back, plus. It's an incredible, I feel incredible. It's an incredible achievement by this group of players who just simply bought into it. I can't. I'll be wasting your data if I speak more about it, but it means a hell of a lot, and it's been a collective of people involved in this.
Cool.
Thank you.
Sir. Are you done? Litson is next. Yes, Litz.
Thanks, Mikey. Hi, Dobbo. Hi, Stephen. Dobbo, you touched on some things that you've noticed over the last couple of years in terms of changing the people's view or mindset of the Stormism, of the Super Rugby, or just getting them back inside. Was that, you've spoken about it, but was that one of your main visions when you started? I know you had to build a squad, things changed with COVID, but what was that sort of one of your main visions to bring people back into the stadium?
Before we started in 2020, Mike here, Duncan here, Tom Dawson, we all got together, Mike, some other guys, and came out there. We want to get Cape Town smiling, and it was before COVID, and that was our first logo. 2019, it was the first logo we decided, and that was because you could see even then, lates, that the Super Rugby was atrophying. You know what I mean? We're the best supported team, but still, we dropped from 40 average to teens or high teens or 20, and we wanted, and the team I felt had become slightly removed from the people, and the people, the Mensa, I can't pronounce it properly, but the Mensa, and that was our first thing, was to get Cape Town smiling, and we reckon that there were two ways. Cape Town supporters, we know, and we can go back 10 years to when other coaches were here. We're never happy we didn't get a fourth try bonus point. We should feel sorry for Flecky, who's a good mate of mine, because we had a defense culture and he was the attack guy, so we didn't get the fourth bonus point. So in those days, Kitsy was part of that. We won lots of games and conceded the least points in Super Rugby, but then people weren't happy. So there's a certain rugby DNA of how people see rugby being played in this region. You probably got to win first, but then you have to play an attractive break of rugby. And that was the one element of getting Cape Town smiling. And the other thing was our outreach, how we're inclusive of people, whether that's staying on the field afterwards, whether it's our projects in the communities, whether it's us training in Delft, or whatever the story was. And that was the thing. And then obviously during COVID, that suddenly got taken away, in terms of style of rugby became worse, that we could probably done better around that. We couldn't do any of our outreach. As soon as it came back, we went straight back to get Cape Town smiling. And that's what drives us all the time, and we've got every week that we show a clip or tell a story, like I did at a press conference on Saturday night. So, and it goes down to how we play and how we interact with people and how inclusive we are. I don't think anybody in the public can report an experience of one of our players turning them away or not stopping for a selfie or not being engaging or anything like that. It's our entire mission, and we're very lucky to have that why and that support we have in Cape Town. It's phenomenal.
And then speaking about Saturday night, we were still down in the media area, but we heard the sounds emanating from up top. Just I don't know if anyone asked this. I joined a bit late, but what was that feeling, that vibe, just there up top? We booked. We were going to Dublin on this weekend. And in a sunny way, from a rugby point of view, was quite looking forward to it because I thought this would be a great experience for the group, to go and play Leinster in the Aviva. But then I thought, our mission was like I said, to make Cape Town smile. And suddenly the euphoria, because we were in the DHL box with the amazing sponsors, and we're in the DHL, and the box overlooks the stadium, and the stadium then was beautiful. It was empty and it was all lit up. And Munster are a DHL sponsored team. We had this amazing alignment in the Champions Cup when DHL Harlequins came and played at the DHL Stadium. And suddenly guys say, listen, Munster might win this. And suddenly people, I don't think their wives and girlfriends, suddenly their husbands aren't going to be away for 10 days. And, we could be playing in front of the Cape Town people again.
we were in the DHL box, and the DHL people were hoping, because imagine that, another DHL team in the DHL stadium. So it was a game we were half watching, and then it suddenly all became real. We could play another game at home. We could have another farewell to Kitsy. So it was a massive celebration. Listen, we got massive respect for Munster. It heaps the pressure on us because they're such a good team, and we're playing at home. You know, at Leinster, nobody would expect it. We like Munster are European giants, but just to be playing in front of our people, what I've just said about the values and what it's going to mean for this whole town and the hype of rugby and the growth of rugby from the grassroots, it was something we didn't expect. So the noise you probably heard was the celebration that we're going to be staying at home.
Thank you. That's all.
Nice one, Leeds. Thank you. Gavin.
How's it, guys? Dobbo, just looking back at that previous Munster game, and actually going back to the Bulls game as well in the quarterfinal, because you had probably the scenario there you needed for Munster. You just come back from Exeter, and 2 weeks before that you'd been in Leinster. That's one thing that you must be really pleased about, because you guys did look a little bit fatigued in that game, I thought. You've done a lot of traveling. Now at least you've got that 2 weeks to prepare, and that could make the game very different this time.
It will make a different game in terms of the training. I thought were really noble, worthy, brilliant opponents on Saturday. They came with a story that we could resonate with of their journey here. So, to go against European semi-final like Exeter with one training session, to come back and play a team of Munster's pedigree with one training session, it's just not optimal for performance. So I'd agree. So the fact that we can rest a bit now and then get a full training in week next week it's a big thing for us. I think I thought we were much better against Munster than we were against Exeter, but you're right, we did look a bit jaded. I thought there's a lot of our process that day was very good. We just didn't get the outcome, but we'll be fresher and better prepared than we were last time.
Okay, and just looking ahead at the training week, just like asking the sort of bread and butter question, which we seem to be neglecting today. You've got a Currie Cup game on Friday against the Pumas. Firstly, is that going to? I don't know if there's been an announcement yet. Is that going to happen at the stadium, or is it going to happen in Stellenbosch?
We're still waiting to hear, Gavin. We'll let you know as soon as we do that.
Okay, cool. But just so because before the Bulls game, you had a 2 week build up as well, and you gave the guys. I don't know if you feel they need the break as much this time, but you worked hard early in the week, and then you gave them off the latter part of the week. Are you going to do the same scenario as you did with the Bulls? And ancillary to that question is your selection policy for the Pumas game. Are you going to maybe play some of the reserves against the Pumas for?
Guys, a good pragmatic question, Gav. Obviously the field preservation is important, and I'm sure there'll be a ruling on that. As regards so what was the question before you asked about selection?
Training.
The training, yeah. So pretty much similar today, just massages and recovery. We'll get some work done in tomorrow and Wednesday, and then give the guys a nice break. So very similar, in fact, almost identical to the Bulls preparation. I think at this stage, an extra 3 kilos on the bench press is not going to win you the URC. I've got to get that past the conditioning guys. I think we want to do well on Friday night, and all our coaches are upstairs working in the Currie Cup. We've got a full Currie Cup day's preparation today, but it's just going to be too disruptive to risk anybody on Friday night. Who's going to be definitely playing next week in the URC. So we'll be, so we won't be playing that. The reality is, if you go, this past week was 1 week, and the next 2 weeks is 3 weeks of where we can't really tamper with the Currie Cup like other teams. You will see the Bulls team that played the Griquas. If that costs us, if the price of us getting into the hosting a URC final is maybe losing out on a Currie Cup semi-final, I think that's a very cheap price. But we're going to prepare the team as the players that we have got as well as we can on Friday night. And that's with the full URC coaching staff going as best we can to try and get a win on Friday night.
Thanks a lot.
Cool, thanks, Gavin. Adnan, reference.
As a guys, congrats on making the final once again. Double, you mentioned something earlier about the game model, the way you guys play. I'm just thinking, every week I go watch a lot of club rugby and I see a lot of, similar type of style of rugby being played on a weekly basis. And I know you also played at some stage. You played, I think it was Northerns for Northerns in your playing days. In my opinion, that is actually what is giving you guys that success and making you being able to score those tries at critical moments, the off the cuff play and so on. Is that would you say that is contributing to your success in a big way?
So how do you?
Style of play. Then.
Yeah, I'm just
it's
saying
massive that we've got
a great model. Yeah,
it's massive that we've got clarity on our game model. That gives us. It just helps us with selection, helps us with contracting. The players know what to do. I think it applies in every sort of game. Yeah, so it does give us it is helping us a lot, that clarity. And I think it's a template that suits the rugby and the DNA of this region.
Yeah, and the fact that the guys that are in the side, they obviously, you mentioned that earlier, that it's very representative of the community, and that's why you have the buy-in of the public.
Yeah, I think so. I think people associate themselves, associate themselves with that style of rugby. So it's part of it. It's hard to change the DNA of the rugby in any region. So and those tries. Look, we live on the edge sometimes, and I'm aware that we sometimes are going to get caught short. I'm also aware that we've been very lucky in the results and a few things in this process. But that's how we want to play the game.
Yeah, and just lastly, you mentioned earlier on Garek Ergier, the role he played in the previous match for Munster. He might be back, and obviously Marvin Ori coming back. How important is that also for your lineup?
Yeah, look, I mean, there was a battle last time with Ergier, with Marvin playing. Ergier had a really brilliant game with those offloads. He's physically very involved, got under our skins a little bit, so that's a big return for them. But Marvin and Dion are big returns for us. So it's going to be a great final. Look, Munster are a really, really good all-round team. Thoroughly deserve to be in the final. I mean, I thought they could have won that game on Leinster by more. So it's going to be a hell of a battle.
And just lastly, about obviously, you guys thought you would have gone to Leinster, but what are the key differences between the two sides, or if any, if there are any, or much difference between the style of play and the approach?
So between which sides? Yeah, the Irish sides are playing. They all play a multi-phase game. They've got these very clever players off 9. When their forwards play, there's a lot of interplayers. If you just in on them, they'll give the tip or the inside ball. They like multi-phase rugby. They're just highly organized and effective. It's hard to get the ball off them. Even with Dion back, it's going to be hard to get the poacher. Kitsy knows that they get 2 guys in over the ball. Sometimes it's off their feet quite quickly, but they're very, very structured. Very hard to get the ball off. We saw it when we played Leinster away. We had it at Munster. So don't see a massive difference for us. It's not like, and they obviously got difference in their own provincial things, but as overall style, it's all very similar, even including Connacht.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Adnan. Yes, Ari, go for it.
Hi, everyone. Just a question for Stephen first. Stephen, I think we all rushed to the Munster-Leinster game. The last 20 minutes I saw the Munster team was quite under pressure in the scrums. Just maybe your thoughts post Monster Jam. Is it still, would the stronger scrumming team still be rewarded, taking that condition of the field into consideration?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's you have to play the field and I think the nice thing is we've been playing there after Monster Jam a couple of games now in a row. So it's you have to take the field in consideration. It's not the easiest thing to scrum on. And it takes a lot of time and effort to actually start building a good momentum in the scrums. There's going to be a lot of static scrums. I can promise you that when it comes to the final, it's going to be scrums that it's going to stand still. But we'll work hard in the next 2 weeks to make sure we get some go forward when it comes to scrum time. I saw Leinster put Munster under a bit of pressure towards the end. It's a similar mindset we'll take into this game.
Thanks. And Dobbo, also maybe looking back to last year's final, how much can you kind of tap into the process of playing in a final, just to duplicate kind of process and your approach, and for the team, everybody kind of experienced now a final, which is often, if you look at tennis players playing in their first Wimbledon final, sometimes the first final is a tough one, but you've experienced that whole hype and the media hype and all the noise in a good way. How can you tap into that?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think, we learned a lot last week. I think last year we ran a really good process in the final week. I thought we were relaxed. We had a nice theme. What's nice is we've got a week to sort of settle those, get all that admin out the way now. Obviously, the ticketing stuff's going through the roof already. The guys asking for tickets and stuff. We get all the admin done this week and run a pretty low key week next week. We had really nice. The whole thing flowed very well. So that'll give us a lot of confidence in how to run the week. Our home final. We moved and trained really well last year. So we'll go the same again this year.
And lastly, thanks, Dobbo. And lastly, Steven, just will you tell Archie, maybe in Afrikaans, to shut up even before you run out onto the field before the game, maybe, or get somebody else to chirp him?
Yeah. That's right.
Cool, thanks, Ari. Steven, we're back with you to end.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Dobbo, after you win a semi-final quite emphatically, is it a easy team to pick, or can one also look, there's Andre being fit, putting a bit of dog in the dog, so to speak. I mean, he's a hard man. So is that a consideration? And then just tapping into that, just how is Brock doing?
No, Brocky won't make it, unfortunately. That hamstring is much worse than we thought. So he won't play again this season, I'm pretty sure. No, he won't. I mean, and so as regards, look, there are a couple of guys in the Currie Cup we're keeping a close eye on. I mean, we won't have another proper injury, unless it's a training one, so that's okay. Quenzo and Lee Marvin are doing well then, but JL, Andre, Junior, all guys playing well in that. So I think we've got a vague idea of our team. But if they go nicely on Friday night, they're the sort of guys we're sort of keeping a very close eye on in the Currie Cup team. It could come into it.
And then just lastly from me, we spoke about your Bok ambitions just now, so to speak. A guy like that seems to be regularly overlooked is Hakjiva. And he does these amazing magical things. Do you think it's time to look at a guy like that? Is he Bok material, or do you think it's just a matter of the Springboks pattern, him possibly just being too speedy and I don't want to say loose, but maybe just not fitting into that Springbok pattern?
Look, he's a unique loose forward. In not only in South Africa, he'd be unique. In lots of countries. So, and I don't know where he stands in the national rankings. Look, he's got a massive game-breaking ability, and I'm sure that can be applied at international level. I would suspect, given how that he is really, really, as I say, unique in that, and he hasn't played international rugby yet. That's obviously not something for this consideration, this World Cup cycle. He hasn't got caps, he hasn't got experience, hasn't been tested at that level. But he's got some special sort of X factor. So maybe he fits into the next cycle. I hope he does, and I think he can bring something there. But I wouldn't think he's even on the radar, and I completely agree that he's not on the radar for this one. But hopefully he can get there one day. He's still a youngster. I think he's 24 or something, isn't he? 25. And as he hones those harder, darker skills of maul defense and his own mauling and that sort of thing, hopefully he can become an international forward.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Good luck for the week or the 2 weeks.
Thanks very much, Bomber. Thanks, chaps.
Thanks, guys. We'll catch you tomorrow for the Currie Cup press conference.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.